Conquerors, and welcome to lesson 1-1, comparing decimals. We have just a few things to put in our math notebook today. We've talked about comparing whole numbers. It's very similar to how we compare decimals. So let's take a look. To compare decimals, we can, use a number line. And remember, we had the equal sign, less than, and greater than. So I want to compare 3 6/10 to 3 8/10. Now remember, numbers that are to the right are greater than numbers to the left, and numbers to the left are less than numbers to the right on a number line. So if I find 3.6 and 3.8, I can see that 3.6 is less than 3.8. Let's look at one more. We're going to look at 0.5 and 0.7. Now these are read 5/10 and 7/10. And I could say 0.4, 0.5, 0.6, 0.7. And if I find 5/10 and 7/10 on the number line, I will see that 5/10 is less than 7/10. The second way to compare decimals is to use place value, to line our numbers up. So let's look at two numbers. I want to compare 0.450 with 0.45. Now, we want to compare these by lining them up. And sometimes with decimals, we need to annex a 0. Annex just means to put a 0 in the number. Now, remember we said that when we were lining everything up, we want everything to be nice and lined up. So if you see, this has 3 numbers past the decimal, and this only has 2. So when I'm lining it up, I'm going to annex a 0. Now, you don't have to do dot to dot. I just want you to see that I'm putting that in here. And then we can see that these two numbers are actually equal in value. So it's very important to annex zeros when I'm comparing decimals. Now on the board I have 8 69/100 and 8 6/10. Now we need to always remember to annex zeros, so I'm going to line everything up here. And so that I can compare correctly, I'm going to annex or put in a 0. The 8s are the same, 6s are the same, and I will see that the 9 is larger than the 0. So 8 69/100 is larger than 8 6/10. Now I have a few problems on the board that we're going to work together. A is 62/100 and 26/100. This is where I'm putting my sign. Don't get confused, think that's a 0. So I'm going to come over here and line these up. 0.62, 0.26. Zeros are the same. 6 is larger than the 2, so 62/100 is larger than 26/100. All right, my next one is read 375,000 42/10. So I need to line these up over here. 0.375, 0.42. I'm going to annex or put in a 0 because I can do that, and I need everything nice and lined up where I can compare. Zeros, same, 3 and 4. So be careful, the 4 is larger here, so 42/10 is larger than 42/100 is larger than 375,000. So 375,000 is less than 42/100. Okay, let's look at C. On C, I have 6 500 thousandths and 6 5/10. I'm going to annex my zeros. And if I compare this, 6 is the same as 6, 5 is the same, zeros are the same. These two numbers are equal. So be careful. If you do not annex these zeros and put them in there, then you're going to think that this is larger because this looks like 505, but we are allowed, the rule is that we can annex these zeros so we can line them up and make them look nice. Okay, so be careful.